I'm happy to be back with y'all. Happy to return, but return with a friend, with a researcher, a scholar. And y'all, fun fact, me and Dr. Alana Stevenson both graduated from Jackson State's urban PhD program, urban higher education PhD program.
Yeah.
She accepted the invitation to come, but y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you. I stalked her, beat her up. I called her, I texted her, emailed her, because this show's intent won't be met unless I have people like this on the show. So today I welcome and I thank you for coming, Dr. Alana Stevenson.
I
Thank you so much for coming.
That. Thank you, Dr. Benjamin. I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be a fun one.
Yes. So, well, first, y'all, some of the connection that we're going to jump right into our content today, y'all. We are both from Louisiana.
Yep.
Now, I'm from South Louisiana. She from North Louisiana.
Yeah, I'm from the top of the boot.
Well, I'm South Louisiana, my way up north. My family originated in Natchitoches.
Okay.
In Natchitoches, Louisiana. But I moved to South Louisiana. So there's an often competition. I got to ask you two major questions when it comes to Louisiana.
I feel like you already gonna know my answer, but come on.
Well, I need to know, are you putting potato salad in your gumbo?
On occasion.
In the gumbo?
It's good. It's good.
Y'all,
it's good. I was introduced to it later in life, but I appreciate it.
We gonna have the folks post under here if they approve that, because I don't know if I do yet.
What?
Potato salad in the gumbo,
Yes.
not to the side.
But they both have to be bombed separately in order for the combination to work together.
And we putting a little mustard in that potato
if
salad.
the auntie that made the potato salad don't know what she doing, leave it. Don't put that in the
Okay, I take that. Then, since we got the gumbo out situation, have you come to Natchitoches to a Christmas festival? Because if you
I have.
Okay,
And
I was
the
gonna
traffic
say-
is crazy.
we ain't got. It's a small town.
The
Give us a
traffic
break.
is crazy. You go out there for the lights and you gonna see the lights that they do, and then you're gonna see the traffic lights
That's
in
it.
traffic all that
Not
time.
too much.
trying to get
We
home.
got us a Walmart. The city has grown. So
Yeah.
what I would one of the things I always love to mention when I talk about Natchitoches is being a young child there. I did not know the quality of education that was coming from Northwestern.
Yeah.
Had I known what Northwestern State University in Louisiana was producing, I think I wouldn't evade it so fast.
Oh yeah.
I think sometimes that hometown is feeling of escape. And so I noticed you can drive past a lot of schools
Mm-hmm.
from Monroe, but what made you choose Southern University to get your bachelor's degree?
So I actually grew up in a house divided.
Okay.
So my dad graduated from Southern University. My mom graduated from Grambling State University.
Oh,
so,
real divided.
and not very. Bayou Classic was
In the
a
house.
family event.
Yes.
Yes. And when I say house divided, I mean we had the license plate on the front of the car with one side Grambling, one side Southern. So I was getting it from both angles my entire life. So I feel like I always knew I was going to go to an HBCU and it was either going to be one of the two. I think what ultimately led to my decision to go to Southern was I was just so familiar with Grambling's campus because I'm originally from Monroe, which is 30 minutes up the road from Grambling. So I spent so much time there. I really wanted to have the opportunity to spend a little more time in Baton Rouge and get to be on the bluff. So
there's a couple of campuses that we go past coming from Monroe
several.
to South Louisiana. I think ULM, we have Grambling, we have Tech. Go a little bit further when we hit Hammond, we hit in Southeastern.
Yep.
We have LSU, of course, big flagship. We have, and then all the LSUs in between.
Yes.
And the Southern system.
Yes,
We acknowledge
because you have
has a
Southern and
system.
Shreveport. I mean, it's a little bit further going west, but yeah, you have Southern University in Shreveport. Shreveport has several schools. You have Centenary, you have LSU, Shreveport. There's a lot of different institutions.
What made you not choose a Southern that wasn't the flagship?
I'll be completely honest. I was not aware of all of the different programming that the other campuses had. So I just knew that Southern University in Baton Rouge had the Law Center campus, it had the Ag campus, and I actually started out as an ag girl.
Okay.
I went through the Bayou program, which was an amazing summer kind of bridge program. At the time, it was funded through USDA. So we had scholarship opportunities once we got started at Southern, and then they let us kind of touch a little bit on all the different majors that fell within agriculture. So we got to do a little bit of animal science. We did a little bit of urban forestry, family and consumer sciences, all the things. And so I love that program. And I was like, okay, y'all got me.
That makes me think about, since you said it takes me into a point of, what do you believe we could do better to share institutional programming, institutional brand, so that students like me and yourself that come from smaller towns are not choosing it based on now? Because when I chose what college I went to, Instagram wasn't popping.
It wasn't. Yeah,
Matter of fact, Facebook was popping, but let me tell you, you had to go to college to get a Facebook page.
That's true. Yeah.
And so, like, the marketing has shifted, of course, but what would have caught your attention, or what could we do better for the generation now that's choosing college to be sure they're choosing colleges not off a limited experience exposure? Because in Louisiana, if you want to go to an HBCU, if you got any ears or eyes, you've heard of Grambling or Southern.
That's true.
And when you hear of Southern, people don't realize it's the only HBCU system
Yes.
that has 5 components of their system.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I didn't know that until I got into higher ed. And I'm from Louisiana.
Right.
And so I think it's important for us to share from higher ed practitioner lens, and for you as a scholar, what could we do, or what do you offer that we could do to really market our institutions in a way that they know more than our extracurricular and learn more about our co-curricular?
I think part of it is on the institution to put more emphasis on reaching those students. Like, part of how I got my experience starting out in higher ed was actually working at Southern and Shreveport. I was a rural recruiter. So I was going to very rural areas, very small towns, and speaking to these students about opportunities that they would have, because not just their networks are smaller, right? Because they're in smaller towns. So they might be on social media, but the type of things that they're seeing on social media is not going to be what people from larger areas are going to see. So I think it takes being more intentional with making those touch points so that those students know what it is that we have to offer.
Where are them touch points located?
In different places all over Louisiana.
Well, I would offer to you. Now, this is something I've been thinking through. I was trying to figure out, where was the first time that me and you had conversation while in the program together? Because, Lana, you were in the cohort ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I was in the cohort behind you. What I ended up learning is your uncle, I believe.
Which one?
I think it's your uncle. One of your family members is a member of the church. And I knew that family member. If I'm not mistaken, did you grow up churchy?
I did.
And so in that, I grew up Church of God in Christ.
Same, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so your uncle, I learned as a child, I had a privilege of playing organ when your uncle was actually a superintendent, I believe.
Oh, you must be talking about my grandfather. My grandfather. Superintendent Charles A. Stevenson.
Yep. And so I share that to say, my first exposure to college was actually at church.
Wow.
Where we creatively learned so much more about the opportunity of college. And it wasn't because our clergy or senior leaders were educated. It's because they desired it for us.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things I would offer to folks is, if you have ministry as a sense of community, be sure we're connecting college with ministry.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm forced to be at church, because I mean in those days,
yeah, growing up college,
I was churching 6 to 7 days a week.
Yep.
So my only introduction to something outside of church would have had to come into church.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a recruitment tool that's left on the table sometimes by HBCUs. I mean, we get our gospel choir visits.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
get
those events,
small events, but there's so much opportunity that's left on the table in that way. But what I really want to get into, because I don't get an opportunity to always sit with a scholar that's HBCU centric, a scholar that's working in spaces that typically you have to be incredibly creative with, because we're very much enrollment driven, enrollment funded. We don't get all the federal money that other institutions get. We don't have the largest endowments. Your research is centered around an area that I think is important for people to hear, important for people to see. And as I was reading through some of your articles the last few days, one of the things I thought about is how we took our comps.
Yes.
And we took our comps in almost like a segment approach. And it was like over time, and but we knew about it, but it was multi-component. That was probably the only exam from K through 12 through undergrad, getting a master's, and finishing a PhD that I ever took in components.
Yeah.
But as I'm reading your research, I see there's value in not only breaking it in components, but how we look at online learning in such a way. Coming off of the pandemic, I think a lot of folks misunderstood online versus emergency virtual instruction. And I think it wasn't clear which one students were. Were they online learners, or were they a result of an emergency that took place and they were virtual learners? And I think it's very clear you're a proponent of online learning.
Absolutely.
And so could you share what's your lens or thought process on online learning, and who does your research really focus on so that community could hear it from you and hear what your thoughts were around it?
I appreciate that. Yeah. So my research is centered on online course design from the learning management software that you're using to the touch points that instructors are creating in their courses to help students succeed, particularly students at HBCUs. So one of the things that I found interesting when I was working on my research through our program was that African Americans are more likely than any demographic to enroll in an online course, right? But on the other end of that, they are not necessarily as successful as completing those courses. And there are several different factors that contribute to that, whether it's the digital divide or it's access to different technologies. And you brought up a very good point about this switch that happened with COVID, where people were going online because of an emergency situation. And what I've learned from talking to faculty members who, are tenured, who have been in higher education for a long time, was that prior to COVID, the expectation of students enrolling in an online course was that, they're doing this for convenience. They are prepared to teach themselves. So the thought process for a lot of those instructors were, I'm just going to put the content on there and they'll do it, get through it themselves. And then what they get at the end is what they get at the end. Absolutely not, especially post-COVID, where students were forced to go into these virtual classrooms. Now the expectations shift. And so instructors are more challenged with actually creating learning opportunities and community environments in this virtual classroom. And so I find it very intriguing and interesting to try out different techniques and different pathways. So one of the kind of like the Cadillac that people would say of online course design is the quality matters rubric. And so there are a lot of institutions that have kind of adopted that rubric and that framework. And so I looked at that when I was designing my research, but a lot of the literature lacked the student perspective. A lot of it came from curriculum designers or instructors. And so my original research that I did through Jackson State focused on student perspectives, because that's what the literature was saying. That's where the gap was. That's what we didn't have. And so I was really excited as I was going through my study and going through my results, because I learned so much of what students are thinking about. So instructors, we typically are thinking, how am I going to set up these assessments? What textbook am I going to be using? How are we going to flow through the chapters? The students are like, when am I going to be talking to my instructor? Are we meeting every week? How accessible are my instructors and the other students in my class? And what different types of content am I going to have to be learning? Am I online just reading a textbook? Can I get a printed copy of my textbook? There's so many questions and things that are important to those students. And my research kind of touches on that and pulls some of that information out of them. So excited about that.
I've heard some buzzwords when we're talking. One of the things I heard was community.
Yes.
There's a strong desire for community, when I think oftentimes faculty I don't even want to put the onus on faculty. I want to just put the onus on institution culture. Often thought it was convenience versus community.
Right.
And thought people were choosing online out of convenience. When you shared that your studies focus not solely, but specifically on HBCU students, I want to talk about that population for a second. That population typically can represent a marginalized population.
Right.
And so when we're talking about digital divide, if they're obtaining the resources to be in the space, I don't know if it's called convenience. It's a response to stop out. The student, the traditional student, does not look like the traditional student that we were.
Right.
The traditional student may be a student that has a full-time job, maybe a student that has started a family a little bit earlier, a student that requires a level of income that going to college 9 to 5 would not produce. And so they're looking for a sense of community, but also I think it's important to share that there's an obligation of faculty to build effective communication models.
Absolutely.
When in an online community, so that we're not calling them environments, but calling them communities. Because I think if I don't feel like I belong, I'm still going to stop out.
Exactly.
And so one of the things I admired about your research is that we kept using the word community versus environment, because environment really dismissed the idea of connection. And so really hoping that students find connection. And I think one of the things I want to share is that the desire to communicate and create connection reduces confusion and conflict. Now, how do we ensure that we're connecting? There were 3 things. Let's even start with 2. if there were 2 ways you could say faculty could connect with students in online communities, what would be 2 things you suggest to those faculty members?
Well, the easiest thing is to make sure that students are seeing your faces. So a lot of times these online courses can seem like a faceless class that these students are navigating through. And so when we're talking about touch points and communication, making sure that you have a photo of yourself at the front page of your course, making sure that when you're sending those messages, you have maybe do videos. One thing I really like to do, especially almost every single online course is typically going to have like an introductory assignment, right? We need that so that we can take attendance. We need that so the students have the opportunity to introduce themselves to one another so that we can know who we're about to go on this, 4-week, 8-week, 16-week journey with.
Yes.
So what I like to do is, instead of typing my feedback, because most of the institutions that I work for have used Canvas as a learning management software. And you can record video feedback versus just typing your feedback. Something as simple as doing a voice note if you don't have it together. You don't want to record your video yet. Doing a voice note or having those opportunities where students actually see you giving feedback. Because not only does it create a sense of connection, but it also helps students to receive harsher critiques that we might have to give them, right? So if I'm looking at you and I'm telling you and I'm smiling and I'm coaching you through this feedback versus you reading something that I type, you might receive that a lot differently.
Words can pick a tone that may not have been the intent.
Right.
I think one of the encouraging factors, especially if students get an opportunity to check this out, read the words, not the emotion.
Absolutely.
But also to faculty, be very present so they don't have to make a decision on which one it is going to be.
That's true.
And so I think that's a strong way of connection. I heard something else in your initial conversation too. You slid in your research at Jackson State. Now we got to let folks know Jackson State, first of all, the national HBCU champions, we got to start there first.
Yes, absolutely.
But also I think it's important to note that the rigor in your research, when I was reading the research, there was a level of intentionality. You chose a qualitative study.
Yes.
And so we're not just reading it from a faculty lens. You had an opportunity to interview those on the other side of the receiving end.
Yes.
And so allowing their voices to be heard in your study, how has that changed your teaching style or your pedagogy delivery?
It definitely made me more intentional in the ways that I structure my content based on the different student populations. So one of the really things that I loved about my demographic of students was the various ages. So I had students in my study that were as young as 18, and I think my oldest was like 53. So I had students who were fresh out of high school, taking their first, online college courses. People who had gone and lived a life and built a family, and they're coming back later in life to pursue their degree, or people who they were changing careers, right? Another interesting thing about my research was the type of program that the students were enrolled in. So I had students who were in social work, students who were in engineering or very technical programs. And so I believe that I got a very full scope as to different perspectives and experiences and things that the students really valued in their online courses. So some of the high points that I just like to share, because I looked at the different types of content and connection. So I looked at student-to-student interactions, student-to-student interaction, student-to-instructor interaction, and student-to-content interaction. And so I wanted to see of those three, which ones were the most important and what type of interactions that they really valued the most. And so, believe it or not, or what most people are generally surprised about, was that even in an online course, student to instructor interaction was still, the most important. Whereas when I talk to a lot of faculty, they often wanted to assume that it was content. It's like, as long as they have the information, they'll be good to go. And so asynchronous was the most popular, of course, because people value the flexibility in when they're needing to submit their assignments or being able to learn. But in an online course, structure is still so important. And I think that's another thing that gets lost when people think of an asynchronous course where you just throw the information up there and they go at their own pace. I think it's important to, set regular deadlines. For my study, what came out as the most important was maybe weekly deadlines. And even in asynchronous courses, when we talk about touch points or when we talk about instructors being present, is also creating those opportunities for real-time interaction. Okay. So outside of, your synchronous course where you're meeting for a class virtually, or in asynchronous courses where you don't have to meet virtually, opening virtual office hours or a forum, once a week or however often possible, students really take advantage of that, even when it's not mandatory or it's not a mandated part of their course.
Something I think that's important to take is some of these classes are anywhere from 8 weeks to 16 weeks long. Mm-hmm. And we're talking I want to talk through the traditional student thought process. You're teaching students that may not have had a relationship this last 8 or 16 weeks.
Yeah.
And so you're forming a relationship as their faculty member when they have not normalized relationships at this length yet. Mm-hmm. And so your first introduction to relationship with them is the syllabus. Mm-hmm. And the syllabus is what would bring that level of structure. I was working with Dr. Kirkendall, John Kirkendall. He's a dean at University of Indianapolis, but also a professor at Jackson State.
Yes.
We did a project together with School of Visual Arts around faculty development called the Pedagogy Pivot. One of the things we shared was I crack a joke at the beginning of our conversation, pretty much saying, I think I found the perfect wife, y'all. And they're like, well, what would she be like? I'm like, well, y'all, this is how the wife has to be. When I say hello, she needs to say hello. She only gets 3 seconds to reply, though. She can't put potato salad in her gumbo.
3 seconds?
I said 3. Elena, stay with me. 3 seconds to reply.
I'm following you.
And she needs to be able to sweep that floor quick, too, because I want that. And I want them lines in the carpet. You know what I'm talking about, them lines after you vacuum.
You don't got to clean the baseboards, do you?
Yes. And on the 15th minute, of the third hour of the day, on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Oh, okay.
I like smothered turkey wings, mm-hmm. but she needs to make them in a Magnalite pot. Any other pot, I'm not going to be hungry.
Not acceptable.
Okay. And also she needs to lay my clothes out, but I like them to have a little heat on, so throw them in the dryer.
Oh, okay.
But time it perfectly because I need to touch with a little heat. Mm. Is it fair to say I'm being unreasonable?
Absolutely.
I haven't met her yet, though.
You won't.
Now, hold on. Now, I'm getting the same reaction from you that I normally get from folks I share this with. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's common, but I tell you this. Why is it that faculty members believe they can hand a syllabus to a student that they never met mm-hmm. and form a relationship with them, creating deadlines and expectations that may not align with their culture or align with their desires? So one of my thought processes are, while structure is incredibly important, should we be forming 100% of the syllabus before we learn the population that we're going to be instructing? Because you laughed me down just now, telling me it was unreasonable mm-hmm. for me to have unfair expectations for a woman I haven't met yet. Mm-hmm. But you're telling me it is reasonable for faculty to have expectations of students that they haven't met either, don't know their background, their K through 12, the pedagogy that would best align with their needs, don't know if they have IEPs, don't know if this structure aligns. So I would offer 70%, maybe 80% of the syllabus be formed because expectations are important. Mm-hmm. Then the other 20% becomes the level of dialogue over those first 2 or 3 interactions. And I did not realize that's what Dr. Kirkendall did when he taught us at Jackson State. Mm-hmm. In fact, he did it, but he did it so informally that I still thought he set all the deadlines.
Absolutely.
When really he was asking us our buy-in. Mm-hmm. When I do the assessment, would y'all prefer this over this? Mm-hmm. But the assessment still made that was one of my favorite classes. I'm not going to say what my favorite class was.
We can't do that.
Ooh, I know better.
We can't do that because we want to be able to go back.
We want to be able to go back. But he's one of my favorite classes. And I think it was because of the level of interaction.
Absolutely.
But the deadlines were still met. Mm-hmm. Papers were still wrote. Mm-hmm. Group work was still taken serious. Interaction was still valued. But what I learned is he came to the table with about 80% of the syllabus. Would it be fair to say, even in online environments, faculty could take this framework, form about 80%, and use that dialogue as extended connection? Because you said they desire community.
They do.
Now community is a part of the framework design that students are agreeing with because they had a part of the development. Could you see benefit of that being embedded in your study?
Absolutely. So my response is yes, and it highlights the importance of flexibility. So some of the things that I always like to share with faculty is being flexible in the types of assessment and the weight of the assessments,
Yes.
right? So generally, if we're thinking about, an online course where like you have several really high stakes, you might have essays that you have to submit, or you might have 3 exams or however many, in a certain period of time. But it's important to incorporate a lot of low stakes assignments in there so that students have it gives you the opportunity for them to reinforce the things that they're learning, where it's not like, oh my gosh, I have to study all night or cram, or, I'm really stressed out about this exam or this term paper that I have to complete. So that's definitely one thing. But also being flexible in the types or the format that students are able to submit their assignments. So what I always like to do, you have those very formal discussions in an online course, but I always like to throw some in there that are very informal, like use informal language. We're just here to talk through what it is that you're learning.
Yes.
And I want to get your perspective of how you understand what it is that we're talking about in this course. So students love those types of discussions because they're not so focused on necessarily the grammar or being politically correct per se, and they're able to just express what it is that they understand about what we're learning. But also with other types of assignments as well. So I give students the option sometimes to either give a written assignment, or maybe if they are the type of learner that does better presenting the information. So giving them flexibility in the way that you accept assignments, it puts a little bit more on the instructor to ensure that the rigor is there, regardless of the type of assignment that they accept. But having that flexibility increases the learner's confidence in the course, and it keeps them pushing forward to the next assignment. And it gets them excited to continue to learn because they have the opportunity to present the information in a way that they understand it.
That's dope. Now,
Yeah.
And looking at your higher ed journey, because you went to Southern,
I did.
And going to Southern, you did a lot of extra and co-curricular things.
So much.
Oh yeah, I saw the sashes. I'm talking about the sash. I was like, she was on some courts, y'all. Courts. In addition to, you had a fraternal opportunity to join Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated,
Yes.
Alpha Tau chapter, correct?
Yes, shout out to the home team.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Now y'all some Bayou
Chapter
Classic
president,
champions.
Yes.
Do you hear me? I'm talking about it, and y'all crush that step show year after
Absolutely.
year.
That's what we do.
Now, hold on, now, because I got to go to this game. Jackson State plays Southern. I'm going down there.
Don't get me to say something.
Oh no, I'm worried for myself
Because
because now I'm gonna be having on this Jackson State sweatshirt, sitting down there with my people while they side eye me while I'm trying to get fish out their tailgate.
You understand.
I'm gonna work it out the best I can. I'm gonna get it the best I can. I'm gonna send a text before I come, y'all. This is what I got on, or I may change for the game. We gonna see how I work
half
this
and
out.
half. You
I'm
do the
about to
tailgate in
something.
one, do the game in another.
Oh, it's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
What would you say your co-curricular experience provided for you from the various organizations and chapter president of one of the most profound chapters I would offer in the region?
I would agree.
Of course you would. Right? How would you say that experience shaped your desire to be in this space of research? Because I think when I think about why I chose my topic, and I can't even take full credit because we know what kind of program we was in. We chose our topic in partnership with our chair.
Absolutely.
But why I even had a remote interest in the topic, what took place at Southern University that produced Dr. Alana Stevenson today?
I am forever indebted to Southern University for all of the experiences that I was afforded. Like you mentioned, being able to join my sorority, an amazing experience. But there were so many opportunities that I had from the moment that I stepped foot on, before I even stepped foot on campus, because I mentioned the Bayou program that I did with the College of Agriculture. I was in the Honors College, and so with that, I was able to meet so many different scholars that were pulled to Southern University from all over the world. I had students in Honors College with me that were from California, from Vegas, from New York, from Jamaica, people that, coming from all these different countries. And so having exposure to students and scholars from various backgrounds and cultures, that's a learning experience in and of itself.
Yeah.
And so being able to learn with them and opportunities to serve in different organizations. But Southern University and the campus has so much to offer. I also had the opportunity to study abroad at Southern University.
Tell us about it.
Yes, I got to go to Belize, which was only one of so many study abroad opportunity that Southern had. Southern took students to Tokyo, to Brazil, to Ghana. It was amazing. So I got to go to Belize. And during my time at Belize, I worked at a hospital and I worked at a school for the deaf and disabled, as well as being able to go to Wesley Junior College. Shout out to Wesley Junior College in Belize. Had amazing instructors there where I was able to take some classes and just have an extracurricular experience where I was immersed in this other culture. And it completely changed my perspective because I was able to see how people learn in other environments.
Yes.
Right? So from the K-12 space, right, our special education programming is set up to where the students are separate from the traditional student, you would say. But there, it was separate, but in the same schools. There, they have their own network, right? Where when I was at the school for the deaf and disabled, you had students who were deaf, students who were blind, students who had various different, cognitive abilities, and they all learned together. And so I really had the opportunity to see the strengths that they had, whereas sometimes we can focus on deficits that students have.
Yeah.
They were able to kind of focus more so on their strengths and build off of those. And where some students had deficits and others were stronger, they were able to work together. And that was a really rewarding experience to see kind of at that level of my journey. And I think that's what inspired me to continue to want to know more about how people learn and different ways that learning can take place and how community is created when we're all working through something that we're trying to figure out together.
Oh, that's good. I think about in higher ed now, especially sports, because it's football season. I'm so happy.
Yes.
I'm so happy football season. In fact, I'll be like Thursday night when football launched down. Disclaimer, I'm a Saints fan, huge Saints fan. Now, hold on. Oh, God. Don't tell me you're a Cowboys fan.
No.
Where
would you get that from?
Because something be going on. I don't know what happened
what
in North Louisiana.
What energy was I putting out?
Well, North Louisiana, it's something going on up there.
Well, you know what?
You can't tell me I'm making this up.
You're
There's
not
something
making
going
it up.
on up there where they be forgetting they in the boot. I don't know what it is, but I
have to speak personally, though, also. We have a classmate. I'm a graduate of Neville High School in Monroe, Louisiana, and our classmate, Cavante Turpin, plays for the Cowboys. So you can't go up there and bash the Cowboys.
What I need y'all to understand, I served notice today. If you live in the state of Louisiana, I don't care if you could walk across the state line of Texas, you were supposed to be a Saints fan. And if you don't get it, I am here to serve notice today. Don't you be up there in North Louisiana forgetting that you're a Saints fan. I get it's closer to drive to Dallas.
It is. It's right.
But what happens is the enemy will make you think things are okay. And I don't want the enemy to use them folks up there.
Don't let them use you.
No, they need to be getting their behind down in New Orleans and watching the suffrage that I'm going to watch this year. Enjoying this suffrage with me. So now that we're thinking about sports, since it really is cranking up, but life is different now. When we were undergrad, they wouldn't get into the bag like they get into the bag now.
Right.
I wish I would have known this was the future. I would have been a non-traditional student just going. And so now that NIL is huge, online learning is even more huge, or even more utilized by athletes. I remember watching an interview with Angel Reese, sharing how like her first year and second year, she took classes on campus as her popularity increased. And I would also offer to say maybe her net value increased. When security measures may even require that she take more online classes, or maybe obligations that came with the NIL contracts where she had to be at places that wouldn't permit her to be in class as much. How does community work? And this doesn't have to be research driven. This is just our thought process. How does community work when they're making that kind of money and they're in online spaces? And do you see it becoming normalized for athletes now that online communities will become the norm at institutions that typically did not have strong online presence as they try to grow their athletic posture?
I definitely see that as an opportunity. I was just speaking with one of my colleagues who works at another institution. We were talking about scheduling for football players specifically, right? So if you are an institution and, you have your class schedule, but, athletes need to take this particular class, but they have to be on campus. I mean, they have to be at practice by 3:00. I think it was Dr. Kirkendall we were talking, and he was saying, they have to be taped up, and they have, all these things that they have to do to even be ready to start the practice at 3.
Yeah.
So if I have a 2:00 class and my class gets out at 2:50, I can't be taped and to the facilities and ready to go at the time where we need to start practicing. So when we're looking at, or when we have these schools that are, these SEC schools or these high performing athletes at these institutions, that prep is important because they can get out there and injure themselves at practice and all the different things. So having those online courses available to them is definitely an asset. And I do also feel like having the community in those courses with students who are their peers who may not be athletes, it definitely gives them the opportunity to stay grounded and stay connected with people who are, in their community in these online courses for sure.
I brought that up right after we talked about your co-curricular experience in Delta Sigma Theta, a sorority incorporated, and also I saw so many sessions. Because I did not know you as an undergraduate student, I did not know how active you were.
I was everywhere.
I was like, so she just Miss Resident Life. I mean, Miss everything. So I would offer to you.
Miss Residential Life, Miss Black and Gold.
Do you hear me? I'm like,
Miss Honors College.
We're going to let that Miss Black and Gold slide. We're going to let it slide. No, I'm just playing. The alphas, look, I rock with everybody.
Yeah.
And so I say that to say, how do you believe the online learner that may not get those extracurricular opportunities, how does that shape their learning experience? Or should we look at models that are different that provides co-curricular and extracurricular engagement, even in an online delivery, so that they don't feel like they're not getting a full college experience?
I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's actually another reason why I feel so inspired to focus my research at HBCUs, because when we think about HBCUs, students are going there for the experience, right? They want to be on the yard. They want to be able to do all of the activities and join all of the organizations, right? And so creating those communities in online courses is what gives those students who may be remote the opportunity for connection. So if I'm a remote student, because, some students are on campus and they end up having to take online classes for their schedule, like we said, for athletes or students who may be student leaders and things like that, it gives them the opportunity to connect with some of those other students so that they can become more aware of those opportunities that they have. But it also challenges us to create more chances. I don't want to keep saying opportunities, but it challenges us to go the distance. To go the distance in thinking of how we're creating those touch points and those opportunities for those students. So one of the things that is becoming increasingly popular is VR, right? Having VR headsets. I know Arizona State does VR biology labs, right? So students who are in online courses can enter the lab through their VR headset. And so I know that when there's different events on campus, they do kind of similar things where you have like the silent parties with the headphones. And so really taking the opportunity to utilize all of the different technologies that we have, like VR, like programs like that, that will give you the opportunity not only in the classroom to increase that sense of community, but to also expose those students who might be remote to more of the organizations and events that are happening on campus that will enhance their experience and allow them to feel more connected, not just to the students that are taking the classes with them, but also to the institution itself. Because that's important, right? Yeah. You want students to have a sense of pride and a sense of connection to the institution that they chose to earn their degree from.
I want to make a bold statement.
Okay.
Now, controversy in podcasts, they're synonymous. How is it that, or I would even offer, if we figured it out during COVID, why did we park figuring it out post-COVID? Like I saw with my own eyes. Now, did I criticize? Yes.
Criticize.
I did. I mean, because it's the human in me. If the experience is different than the experience I have, I kind of look at it. We intentionally, or not, or maybe unintentionally, we look at it with a side eye. But then it doesn't change experience. And so, like, I literally had a conversation with someone the other day on a plane, and I was only thinking through my lens of experience. They were a member of an organization. I was a member of Phi Beta Sigma. And I was asking them, like, hey, they shared their line number. And I was like, man, how did y'all do your show? I was just very interested in what they call now a new member presentation or neophyte presentation. I think we were calling it a probate show when I did mine. And I was like, how did you do your show with that many people? I just asked. She was like, we didn't have a show. I joined during COVID.
Yeah.
And I think I was empathetic first. Like, dang, that's an experience.
Right.
It was but she said we made a production and it was on IG. But I remember that season where people was dropping some of the hottest videos.
Yeah.
And guess what? We embraced it because it was a year long. So that was fall, spring, and some people tried to wait. And who want to come to a show with masks? I mean, not the masks that have to reveal themselves. I'm talking about health masks.
Right.
And so, but we pivoted and made it work. And so if you were an online student then, there would have been zero judgment in you joining these organizations because we all had to join through the same mechanism. So we could figure out how to bring a co-curricular and extracurricular experience during emergency times. Why can't we sustain that so that online communities at our schools still get an immersive experience as well? So I think my bold statement is don't act like you can't figure it out when you figured it out before. I mean, and I'm a firm believer on if I'm paying tuition, and there's a lens of equity that needs to be considered. If Jarrod is paying what Alana is paying, just because I'm doing it, not because of convenience, I'm doing it as my choice because of need, and I desire community, we need to figure out how to give the same return on investment some kind of way. And it's to the campus's benefit, in my opinion,
absolutely.
because you're not giving up that bed in that resident hall. So you typically, you're opening up your enrollment in a way that can be more beneficial revenue generation-wise.
Absolutely.
We just got to figure out how to have a conversation with that faculty member that may have a digital divide, not necessarily due to socioeconomic lack, but maybe due to technology lack. So what conversation would you have with that chair, that dean, that provost, when we're talking about amazing tenured researchers and scholars and faculty that may have a digital divide, but yet we still have a need for community? If you had to give them, what would step one look like through your lens of experience to have that conversation with faculty to say, you know what, I'm not putting all that on Canvas.
Because they'll say it.
What? I'll put the grade in Canvas. I'm not putting all that on Canvas. And I'm tenured. And I done put this research out. I care about them kids, but I'm not giving it all that time. What would be step one so that we still get to retain these amazing faculty members, but we operate in a way of convincing them the value of it? Because while I believe your study is profound, what if it does not reach the hands of that faculty member who says, I'm not going to put that on Canvas? What would be step one today that you would share with them? The leader.
That's a very nuanced and kind of a complex question a little bit. If I had to simplify it, I think the most general solution would probably be, where can we start at creating some type of template, right? So if it's bare minimum, this is what we're going to do. These are our minimum guidelines for the course that if you implement or you design it this way, kind of similar to the Quality Matters rubric, but more in depth.
Okay.
Depending on the program So if I'm talking to the dean, so depending on the program, the type of course, having a certain set of guidelines or a template where you say, hey, you don't have to do all of this. We have this template. We're going to copy it in your course. Now we just need your expertise. Now we just need you to facilitate learning in this course and serve as a mentor to your students and just create an engaging environment with these students online. But we'll take care of the technical aspect for you.
Okay.
So I think that generally would be a good starting point as far as what I hear from a lot of faculty when I'm having those conversations, similar to like, oh, I don't want to put all that on Canvas. It's not necessarily that they don't see the value in it being there. It's more so the time and the effort, right? Because these are researchers, especially when we're talking about tenure faculty, these are experts in their field.
Yeah.
And so they spend so much of their time, working on research and grants and actually facilitating courses, whether they're teaching, hybrid, in person, or whatever their course load is, that it is kind of a big ask. I know some institutions, and a lot of this is, post-COVID, when we're dealing with a different type of dollars.
Right. Right. No.
There is an opportunity for, a stipend or something for a faculty member to redesign a course or something like that. But at institutions where they have the support there, if you have instructional designers or curriculum designers, start creating templates that work for various programs so that those faculty who are experts can just share their expertise and facilitate the class, and they don't necessarily have to focus on all of the technical aspects. Yeah.
So let's say we have a blank canvas today,
Blank canvas.
and we're gonna say we're making the dream retreat or faculty professional development for a institution that serves marginalized students. And I'm being intentional in saying that because I want to say for an institution similar to institutions that we've worked at, or that your research focuses on, HBCUs, the blank canvas of developing faculty, I often say we get so quick into development that may not be able to be implemented that we forget there may be a need of focus groups. And those focus groups could share those honest, vulnerable moments. Like, I see benefit in that, but I don't have that kind of time. So in a blank canvas today, what does Dr. Stevenson's expertise bring to that blank canvas? If a school picked up the phone today and called you and said, I want you to bring your expertise to my campus so that we can create a faculty development that takes us into the next generation of online community pedagogy delivery. What does that look like if they picked up the phone today and says, we got a blank canvas? What does it look like to bring you into our space? And we may not be able to be operating at an excellence first visit, but at least lifts us from a space of mediocrity. And now we have steps that get us there. What does that look like? Dr. Stevenson, I'm calling you. I want you to come.
So that looks like a conversation where I get the lay of the land of where we are, right? Because in order to know where we're going, we got to know what's our starting point, right? So we're going to work on developing that course design, making sure that faculty understand all of the capabilities that are there, and I always like to, any type of presentation, the faculty or whoever is attending that presentation, they're going to walk away with at least 3 things that they could do today in their course, right? It's not going to take them a week of sitting in their office trying to completely redesign their entire course, right? So we're going to go through actionable steps that they can take to improve the design of their courses. And I think what's really important and what faculty find valuable is seeing how implementing those changes can really impact the success of the student, because that's what we all are here for students to be successful, whether we are in enrollment management, where we're trying to get students in and retain them, if we're in the academy and we're teaching the students, or if we're in student affairs trying to make sure they have all of the supports that they need to enjoy their experience and be successful in the classroom. So that's what it would look like, seeing where we are and looking through all of the different technologies, because let's face it, we're in the age of AI. We're all talking about AI. So there's a lot of opportunities there for us to explore how we can utilize those AI tools without losing the human touch. Because ultimately, that's the magic in an online course, right? You use the AI as a tool, but without the human touch, students aren't going to be as successful. And we know that because of what students are saying that they need in order to not just enroll in these classes, but to not drop the class, to not just complete one class online, but also consider taking an entire curriculum or entire program online.
So what I hear, I pick up the phone, I call Dr. Stevenson. Our first outcome is to ensure students are successful.
Absolutely.
We're enhancing or elevating student success. The objectives that I heard were where you're going to give them tools on how to enhance community connections, how to implement artificial intelligence as a tool without reducing the humanization.
Exactly.
Then the last thing is actionable steps on how to design the course for this generation of student.
Absolutely, because we're dealing with a different generation of students. Their expectations are different than what our expectations were, or what the generation before us, what the expectations were, not just out of an online course, but just what they're getting out of school in general. Because, as you know, there's so many things that are competing for their attention. It's not just school and being successful in this class.
I think I'm gonna repeat. It's so many things competing for the student's attention.
Yes,
I don't even think I don't limit it there. It's so much stuff competing for the attention of the faculty member.
That's true.
And the attention of the practitioner. So how do we keep our attention on ensuring the students succeed? I think one of the things I think always are important is how do we ensure we're meeting students' needs, when oftentimes we park that in the student affairs area. You provide wraparound service, I'm going to provide instruction. How are you meeting the needs of students, or even hearing there is a need in an online environment? when you're serving as a faculty member for them.
That's why presence is so important, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all connected. We can't just say, student affairs handles all of those things, because if students are here to go to class and learn in their courses, student affairs is not instructing them Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Student affairs is not having their classes Tuesdays and Thursdays. So they're seeing their instructors. And so we really can be the first line of defense for identifying those students who might be stopping out, or identifying, hey, I noticed this is happening, or you're not logging into this course, or I'm noticing these things that you're talking about in your writing, to where instructors are able, when you're present and you're paying attention to what it is that your students are submitting and how they're showing up in your class, you actually have the opportunity to connect them with the right resources that they may not even know are available through student affairs. So I definitely think that's part of what's so important about being present as an instructor in an online course.
And I think it's important to tell them to quality assess the resources that we recommend.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, and I speak from my experience, like, don't send me to a writing center for somebody who don't know how to show me how to write when I come from a culture that may not align with their culture or their identity. Because how you deliver the support to me determines if I'm going to return to be supported. And so my big ask, a bold statement again, is if you're a faculty member where these services are located, go by and pay a visit to be sure they know how to serve your student.
Absolutely.
Because you're sending your student to places that you're trusting can execute with excellence, and we're not certain that it's happening. And that may be a conversation that doesn't have to be a rough conversation. Just be like, hey, these are the type of students I'm going to send your way. Are you going to be able to, develop them in a way or support them based on this need? And if you can't, share that, so I'm not sending that student to you.
Right. I actually sit in a lucky spot. I say a lucky spot because of where I am now. So I'm department chair of general studies at Simmons College of Kentucky.
Yes.
And so with me being over general studies and the general ed curriculum, I have direct access and touch points to all of those support services. So like our writing centers, falls under our department, our math learning center, and all of the things. And so I, like you said, take the initiative, connect with those faculty and volunteers who are working in those areas and making sure that students are able to connect with those services. And so again, when you talk about assuring the quality of those services, I think it's important to not always do a cold transfer. Because when you call customer service and they say you at the wrong department and they just click you over and the line start ringing again, and then somebody else pick up and you got to explain this all over again. Students don't necessarily want to have to do that. We don't want to do that as adults.
I need an internet extender in my house right now because the Wi-Fi at the front of my house be tripping and my office is at the front. So my Wi-Fi on my computer is straight, but on my phone, in between meetings when I'm trying to TikTok, I'm struggling. So I get on the phone with my internet provider. I'm not going to shout them out because I want them to love me still. But I go and I'm like, I get on, they were like, if you need English, press 1. Of course, I hit 1. And then all these prompts. And then I'm getting on the phone. I'm like, no, because I'm trying to
Representative.
Thank you. I'm 0. But because I had a need, I stayed on. To the student that we sent on that goose chase with that code transfer, I think that's the largest reason they stop out.
Yeah.
Because they're like, there was not a warm exchange. So now, how do I know you trust who you sending me to if all you did was send an email or say go? And so I think while you shared you sit in a lucky spot, I want to offer all faculty members need to look at it through a lens of they all sit in a lucky spot. And I need them all to go and extend themselves just a little bit more to say, who are these people? And if they're doing it right, this is not a moment of criticism. This is a moment of suggestion based on practices that we've seen.
Absolutely.
And it's important that you know who those people are. I trusted those writing coaches when I was getting my dissertation done because Dr. Brown vouched for them, but also Dr. Brown ensured that we had time with them. Now, did I appreciate the time in the moment? I can't tell you that. But hindsight, looking at it, it was like, man, I really appreciate the fact that he didn't just say, this who gonna help you. It was a time where she sat in the room with me and him. And because I saw him trusting her, it made me trust her.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's important in our syllabus, those wraparound services can't just be talked about. Give them moments in our classroom.
Absolutely.
Even if it's virtual. That video, they can record it too. And I think that's important. I want to shift the conversation because we only got a little bit of time left.
Okay.
And I think it's important that we hear this. When I look at you, I see a millennial that's getting to sit in an amazing administrative role in the academy. But I also see a millennial that's published, a millennial that's a scholar. How do you speak to the millennials that we found that gatekeepers aren't letting us in the gate? What are some things that you were able to do that got you through the gate? Because I'll be honest with you, I felt like sometimes I went through the back door, the side door, the roof,
You got to find a way.
You know, one of the things I want to start by saying is I had to find a mentor that would vouch for me. And I thought that was a mentor, but I learned it was a sponsor.
Yes.
What they did is they increased my visibility by saying, he good, y'all. Let him in.
Yeah.
But what are two things that you would share with those that sit in our age range that have submitted themselves through a discipline, went and got the credentials, but feel like I got the credentials, but I don't have a way in? Because every time I knock at the door, I'm blocked by a gatekeeper. What advice do we have for them today that they've sat through all this time with us? They've laughed. They learned that potato salad might be acceptable in gumbo. They have admitted that they should have been a Saints fan if they're in North Louisiana. But now they're like, I have this PhD. I have this terminal degree, whatever flavor of terminal degree they sought after. But as I'm knocking on the door, people are looking at my age, and they're not looking at my publications. They're looking at my age. They're not looking at my scholarly contributions. They're looking at my age, and they're forgetting that might be a benefit to them because now I connect with the community we're serving even more. How can they get in the door?
The number one thing that I would say when you're going through that process is to not lose yourself. Because it's very easy to lose yourself when you keep knocking on the doors and it's slamming in your face and you think that this is the right opportunity and it turns out to not be the direction you need to go into. And even though you've earned all of these accolades, you have the terminal degree. If you lose yourself, you can lose your confidence, right? And you're not the only person that suffers from that. Those students that you serve are going to suffer from that. The community that is benefiting from the research that you're involved in is going to suffer from you not being able to show up as your full self, even when the pathway that you thought you were going to go down is not necessarily panning out to be what you thought that it was going to be. So I think that it's very important to stay grounded in yourself and to stay confident in what it is that you have achieved and what it is that you know that you're capable of achieving. Because no matter where you are in your journey, you never know who's watching. So it might feel like the people on the other side of that door are not paying enough attention to you, but you don't see who's around you that's seeing what it is that you're doing and what it is that you're creating, who could become another pathway for you to get to where it is that you're going. So just to not lose yourself and to continue to press forward and focus on the work that you're doing, because it's impactful even if you're not directly seeing those impacts in real time or in that moment. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I would say has helped me as I continue to navigate this space. Like you said, publishing and being this young person and just making sure that you are paying attention at every stage. Yeah. So that's the other thing. So a lot of times if you are a millennial and you've worked through your degree very quickly, or you've rose through the ranks of whatever pathway that you're in higher education, it can seem like, okay, you've gotten really far really fast. And so it's important to pay attention to where you are at every stage so that you're learning. So even if you feel like, okay, I've done these things, I'm ready to go to the next level. Sometimes it's a little bit more for you to learn where you are, right? So that you can pay a little bit more attention, because there's some things that you need to pick up to take with you, right? And sometimes the only way to do that is to stay here for, just a little bit longer so that you can pick up some things, not just from where you are, but just from your view. So if this is my view, I need to look up and see what's going on above me so that I know what to look out for when I get there. I need to look all around me to see what it is that I can pick up and take with me. And I need to look at where I've come from so that I can say, what is it that I'm doing where I am now to improve the experience for those people who are coming behind me, and what it is that I can give them so that when they get to where I am, they can have a better experience, right? And to make sure that as we move forward, we don't create those same roadblocks that we work so hard to get over.
I struggled with that. I want to be honest, because I compared entering the academy into my comparison of entering Greek life. A lot of people do. No, for real. Like, I remember desiring to join Phi Beta Sigma on my campus, and it was so many people interested. they were heavy programmers. And you know how I go, the more you program, the more people see you, the more they want to join. And I come from a very churchy background, so I'm not legacy. In fact, those are some difficult conversations with my family.
Yeah.
And when I got the adequate, or what I deemed adequate buy-in, I was gonna do it. So
gonna do it anyway.
Y'all need to go and work with me.
Need to see it my way.
I think buy-in for me was like, run me some coins for this, y'all. It's not. When I was getting ready to join, I could remember, you know, I had a mentor that was already a grad chapter member, or alumni member. He was helping me navigate the journey. But then when I got in, some of my constituents, I had made a commitment to myself. Those that were interested, I would try not to be rude. Because I saw people saying, hey man, how should I go about, research it, look it up. Bro, they can't look up your chapter. And so when I hear faculty that have been seasoned in a space that now serve as gatekeepers, telling me, do this, instead of coaching me through it, it makes me feel like that moment I'm reliving that level of gatekeeping. And I never wanted to do that, right? And so one of the things I want to share, and I think it's applicable from the student lens, but it's more applicable in the faculty lens, seize every moment. There's levels to this. Me and you were having conversations preparing for today, and we both shared we had an amazing time meeting Chancellor Pierre at Southern University.
Yes, absolutely.
And you know, I got to shout my boy out because he's my frat brother now. So y'all know y'all signed up, it go viral. Chancellor Pierre is a member of Phi Beta Sigma, Southern University Baton Rouge flagship campus. He is a member of Phi Beta Sigma. And so in talking with him, one of my great friends, Dr. Winton Anderson, just graduated from the PhD in public policy program at Southern.
Awesome.
I go to his blazer donning, and I thought that was super dope. Never saw anything like it. So they get in their blazers. Chancellor Pierre comes in, and I get a moment of time to just be very intentional in communicating with them. What I did not leave out in that intentional moment was sharing with my future publications maybe, and exploring, are there any synergy in your desire to contribute to that space? Because I know what that level of sponsorship looks like in the event he is interested. Or do you know anybody on the campus that you serve as the chancellor of that would be interested in this future study? Not only did I get that level of time with them, I seized the moment because I knew it's levels to it.
Right.
And I saw how I was being watched, getting that level of access of communication. One of the things I want to tell folks is, don't focus on the gatekeepers as much as you need to focus on enhancing your network.
Right.
And seizing the moment of you. Sometimes I've misplaced those moments by conversing about things that ain't gonna take me to where I need to go.
Right.
But they discuss about where I've been. And so I'm offering to you, if you can even seize the moment and make no moment small, every conversation is a big conversation for me.
Absolutely.
When I'm at conferences presenting, if I run into somebody, I'm using that time, even if it's 3 minutes, to almost be a salesman of what my skills could be in their space. Now, I do have locality restrictions. I'm being real because I'm from the South and I want to stay in the South.
Yeah.
Because I was in the military before I got into academia. I've traveled the world, and I'm really enjoying the fact that I can catch a Saints game. I'm really enjoying.
It's always centered on the Saints.
The Saints. Oh, we're gonna talk about the team now, y'all. This year, I'm depending on y'all to not cause me to go into depression.
We're gonna pray.
You hear me? I enjoy the fact that my family, as they've grown older, my aunts, family that played a huge role into who I am today, I get to reinvest with time and connection with them. I get to ensure that my children are raised in a way that aligns with my culture, my faith, my identity. And so Louisiana's important to me. Now, that doesn't limit my locality, but for those that do not have locality restrictions, I need you to go in these spaces very comfortable in sharing how you can contribute. There's some things I think they need to have ready. What is your pedagogical philosophy or your teaching philosophy? Don't develop that after you're speaking to someone. Have that thing sitting in your Google Drive, in your phone. Because you never know if that could be part of your follow-up. That CV, don't get ready, be ready.
Right.
Update it with every accomplishment in real time.
Yes. Every
presentation, literally keep that thing updated. And that's life. Be ready, stay ready, don't get ready. And then I think it's important too is remember faculty who valued you being their student.
Absolutely.
I think we've said his name a couple of times, but I'd be remiss if I don't shout him out properly. Dr. Kirkendall has opened doors for me because he saw value in how I showed up as a student when he was my faculty member. He saw value in how I valued my study when he sat on my dissertation committee. So now he's very comfortable saying my name in spaces that I won't be able to say it for myself.
And I would challenge students to recognize that value as early as your undergraduate experience. Because we're talking about graduate programs and PhDs and terminal degrees. But like I shared with you at the conference when I was able to see Chancellor Pierre, I also saw Dr. Ejidi, who was my first semester sociology teacher, who's faculty senate president at Southern University. Yeah. And because of how I showed up my first semester freshman year, when I'm meeting him as Dr. Alana Stevenson, he will champion who I am and look into my research and see all the things that I've done in order to move me forward and see where it is that I can contribute to Southern University, even, you know, as an alum or as somebody who's gone on and has entered the academy myself. So it's very important, and starting as early as you can. Like we talked about my experience, I took advantage of every opportunity that I could, especially like you mentioned, being tied to a specific location, but also when you're young and you don't have children, you don't have bills, right? You're an undergrad. Take advantage of every single opportunity that is in front of you, so that you can be more marketable, and it helps you to identify what your actual interests are and where you can be of service and add value to any industry that you are going into.
I saw an association announcement drop a few months ago, actually last fall. I saw it drop where you're now serving as an officer in an academic association.
Absolutely.
How did that experience come to fruition for you? And I know it's going to bring value, not just to your portfolio, but they're going to receive value from your labor and servant leadership. How did that opportunity, and what is the role, and let the folks know who the association is?
Yes. So earlier this year, I was actually voted to be a board member of the Association of Social and Behavioral Scientists. And that was something that was several years in the making. So working through my PhD program, earning my PhD, and continuing my scholarly research beyond that, publishing articles and continuing to grow as a faculty member. I first heard of the organization through Dr. Thornton, who's one of our instructors in our executive PhD program. She's been a member of the organization for years and years.
She pushes it.
Absolutely. Oh, and one of the most beautiful touch points, I'm just going to add this in here because it's completely separate from my role. One of the women who has been a champion of the organization, she's a former professor at Grambling State University, Dr. Staten.
Yes.
She was the chair of the conference this past year. Dr. Staten was my mother's professor when she was at Grambling University.
And community. Yes. Okay.
So for me to have the opportunity to see her at this conference and let me FaceTime my mom, because we can do that now with our little mini computers we carry around every day. FaceTime her and her to be able to have that connection. It was just such a wonderful thing to see Dr. Staten light up and my mother light up, because I've heard Dr. Staten's name my entire life. Never knew that I would have the opportunity to meet this woman. And so that's another thing for young professionals. Recognize the value of these people that we are able to connect with. Dr. Staten is an encyclopedia. Like she's such a valuable resource, and I appreciate the opportunity to engage with researchers who have been in the game for so long and who can teach us so much about what it is that we're doing and how we can improve our studies and our research. No, that's
important to share. It is a part of the conversation. Like, you saw community before you saw value in the community.
Absolutely.
And so now that there's value in the community, it's a full circle moment.
Yes. And so going back to this being years in the making, I was able to join the organization as a graduate student. And so I've been attending the conferences for years, publishing research, working with other researchers from different institutions all over the United States. And so because of my work and my research, I had the opportunity to be nominated to be a board member. So I am serving as a board member of the organization, and I'm excited about all of the work that we're doing and how we are trying to engage more young professionals and researchers to join that organization and to share your research with us. We do an annual conference where everybody comes in. And it's just an amazing opportunity to meet other like-minded individuals who are conducting research and trying to move the needle forward in how we are designing not just designing our courses and education, but also how our institutions can serve as pillars within our communities and how we're enhancing our communities through the work that we do.
I think it's important to share with people, shoot your shot.
Absolutely. You miss 100% of the ones you don't take.
So when we're submitting these proposals, so we can be at conferences, shoot the long distance shot, shoot from the 3-point line, dunk if you can. When I say to you, partner with humility, what do you hear through the lens of scholarly publications, partnering so that your proposals get through reviewers, partnering because sponsorship can happen through partnership? What do you hear as a faculty member, as a chair, that we can send a message to those that may be listening today, the benefits of partnering with humility?
I think what I hear is the importance of sharing what you have versus who you are, right? So sharing the work that you do and not just focusing on people seeing your name, right? Yeah. It's more important for people to know what these marginalized communities are needing in order to be successful in their courses, what administrators can be doing to improve the way that they govern the faculty and all of these things. It's more important to share your work than to receive the credit for it.
Yeah.
And then it's sometimes it's not always, or it's never really about that, right? When you're talking about partnering with humility, that it's not about who you are and putting your name and face in front of everything. It's about the impact of the work that you do and making sure that it reaches the people that it needs to. And sometimes it takes partnership, right? It takes, I may be hip to the newest AI tools and how we can enhance course design and put VR and do this assignment. And do you can create this pathway where they can opt out of these assignments if they already show that they mastered these learning outcomes? Like, I might know how to do that, right? But I might not know how to connect with the people who do. Whereas Dr. Thornton, who's been teaching for 20 years, she has a network of people who, if they see her name on a research article, they're going to be like, oh, that's Dr. Thornton. Let me see, what she's doing, because I know the quality and the validity of the research that she's produced over her tenure of being in the academy, right? And so it helps to amplify the voices of the people that you're representing in your research and not just your voice, right? It's like handing a megaphone,
Yeah, I think that's the best analogy I've heard of that. Like, my work is valuable, but when I add partnership to it through humility, it becomes work with a megaphone. And so I think that's huge. We coming to the end. In previous episodes, I've been able to share the value of a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. I think I want to close this today sharing who one of those people are in each scenario for me, and I welcome you.
Okay.
Closing, thinking through the same, right? Okay. And so be thinking now, who you feel like. Yeah. So coach, I would offer to you a coach, whether he recognizes he's my coach or not, in this season, Dr. Zacchaeus Johnson.
Yes, I know Dr. Johnson very
Dr. Johnson
well.
Was at Southern. I'm talking. If you want to talk about hitting home runs, my boy is so innovative in his approaches.
Yes.
And then he went to Suno from Southern BR, and then he now is at the system, at the Louisiana Board of Regents. A true coach for me. When I say coach, I can share short-term strategies, plans, and action steps, and Dr. Zacchaeus Johnson gonna get me there. If not anything, we both can have what we call treadmill conversations, where we can get on that treadmill and just be talking through. And I welcome his accountability. His accountability makes him one of my better coaches. Mentor, a mentor. I think I have a couple, but when I think about, since this conversation has been so academia focused, when I think about mentor, I would probably venture to spread that across. I think first, Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown, I was so afraid. His name came with a stigma entering the program. And then when I got to know him, Dr. Brown was opposite of everything they said he was. But also, post finishing my degree, Dr. Brown has encouraged me to put my study into a conference that recently got selected. And as I prepare that research, I value his mentorship so much more than I valued it when I was going through the program. I think I wanted to get out so bad. I couldn't accept his wisdom. I wanted his best practices. And now that I'm out the program, I think I now accept his wisdom, true mentor. And then when I say sponsor, a sponsor, I want to give sponsorship to Brian Fonseca, Dr. Brian Fonseca at FIU, Florida National University. He will never keep a secret what I can contribute to spaces. So his reach and network always enhances my visibility. He will share every LinkedIn post. He will make phone calls. He will do email introductions. Sometimes I can't keep up with the intros quicker than he's doing them. So I think while all three of those people have served as each one of those in the season that I'm in today, that's where I see most value for those three people. And they're making the practitioner in me, the scholar in me, the professor in me, the consultant in me elevate each day because they show up in those spaces. Now, every conversation ain't about work, but every conversation, I know there's a layer of accountability that's going to come up and I need to be prepared. Who are those three people to you? Coach, mentor, sponsor.
I feel like it's very difficult to
well, because don't worry about who name you don't say, because
y'all know I love y'all, right?
Yeah, that's how you got to do it. That's how you got to do it. You got to lead it with that soft "I love y'all."
Yes.
But give us some name, and then we can say this. Tell them they name gonna be in rotation later. If they don't get the mic today.
You got the next one.
Yep.
Yes, because I literally would not be where I am or have been as successful as I have been without so many people. I'm definitely the type of person who sees like any moment that I have to connect with anybody as a learning opportunity. Like whether it's you teaching me a new way to tie my shoes or you teaching me how to walk in and command the attention when I'm giving a presentation. So there's just so much value in all of the relationships and connections that I've been able to make throughout my career. If I'm thinking of, we're starting with Coach.
Yep, Coach. That's
Starting with
short-term goals.
Starting with Coach, I got to give it to Dr. Kirkendall. He has taught me so much about navigating higher ed. The couple times that I've been able to see him post program, he always handed me a book.
Yeah,
you need to read this. This is gonna tell you exactly where we're going in higher education.
Yeah.
Here's a book. He's always giving me a book to read. He's teaching me through different strategies and understanding how academia works. So I got to give that one to Dr. Kirkendall. He got that one.
Okay.
If we're thinking mentorship, gosh, it's.
Y'all don't be mad if she don't say y'all not, because she over here
mad.
pressed.
It's
they
so
not gonna be that. We gonna put them in rotation later. We just need today's.
It's because I can't not say Dr. Brown.
Okay.
Because and you actually, when you were talking about preconceived notions about like what you come into the program thinking about Dr. Brown, he knows he has a reputation that precedes him. But it also made me think about being a millennial on the younger end of millennials that are entering this space, and how we can kind of enter the space with such a fresh set of eyes that we don't see some of those preconceived things. So it's like you can learn from the experiences of people who have more skin in the game, but at the same time, when you aren't aware of some of those things, you can kind of push forward, because you can ask Dr. Donald Comer, the president at Lane College, who sat next to me in our classes. When I showed up the first day, I showed up like, okay, Dr. Brown, what are we talking about today? Because I read the chapters and when you ask a question, I'm gonna have a response, because I'm not thinking so much into, oh gosh, this is Dr. Brown, what he gonna say? I got to say the exact thing. So I do think that's one of the strengths. So lean into that, younger millennials that's going into the academy. But yeah, so definitely Dr. Brown. I learned so much from him. Dr. Koji has coached me so much through my research.
If
Dr.
you ain't publishing,
Thornton,
don't call Dr. Koji back, because he's gonna tell you I'm not talking to you right now.
Right. And if you want to get there quick and in a hurry, he's gonna be on you. He's gonna be on you to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. And he's gonna make sure your stuff is together. And then I also have to give it to Dr. Thornton, because when I talk about research and how I'm trying to design these studies in a way that's hitting all of the marks that they should, and that I'm not missing any opportunities to ask the right questions or ask another question and to review these research, especially when we're talking about qualitative studies, that's Dr. Thornton all day. So she has really nurtured the researcher in me. So I have to give her that. I know that's three for one category.
Well, we're gonna let it slide.
We're just not gonna count.
Who is the sponsor? Who's increased your visibility?
I'm looking at them.
I take it. But you know, I would say this though. Sponsorship comes with a level of responsibility.
Yes.
Be careful who you sponsor because you only get one time to make a mistake with sponsorship.
Right.
And I tell people, we did an episode previous with Jason Gibson, Dr. Jason Gibson, and I was telling him, you need to study who you're deciding to mentor or sponsor.
Absolutely.
Not just study who you're choosing as a mentor, study the mentee to be sure they have the capacity to move and implement the practices, because that can be frustrating, right? And so our time is up. It went quick, but we got to tell folks how to follow us first. How do we connect with you on LinkedIn, whether it be in any other flavors? Where you, what is an upcoming publication that we can expect from you? How can we find you? Because I'm thinking if some folks got some blank canvases, they need to have you in spaces where their faculty are being developed. How can they connect with you?
Yeah, so on LinkedIn, I'm Alana Stevenson.
Yes.
You'll see a picture of me with my big bushy hair.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
I'm currently at Simmons College of Kentucky in Louisville, Kentucky. So that is, where you can find me. My email there is astevenson@simmonscollegeky.edu. What all did we say?
As long as we can find you.
Yes, you can find me there.
Now you're not. We don't need you acting fake. You're not going to be the people that when we write in the inbox on LinkedIn, we can't get a reply.
No,
okay,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I welcome the messages. I welcome the opportunities to connect, to talk more.
Yes.
I love hearing through different things that other faculty have found to work well in their courses, and then I love sharing some of the things that I've seen and what I found in my research. One of the things because that was the other part, just came back to me. What I'm working on now in online courses is how we can utilize two-stage exams in order to improve student performance, student confidence, and that sense of community in courses. And so I've had the opportunity to already conduct a little research, implement some of these, and when I tell you the results speak for themselves. I'll just share a little bit about one iteration that I did. It was in a research course where students, or let me back up a little bit. For those who aren't familiar with the two-stage exam, that is an exam that's typically administered in STEM concentrations or STEM fields, where students take one stage of the exam individually, which is generally multiple choice type of questionnaire test. They do that. They complete that portion individually, and then they complete the second portion as a group. So sometimes that is completing the exact same multi-question exam as a group the next day or with however much time in between, or sometimes that's completing another type of project that is a group project that hits the same learning outcomes. And so what I have found, because I implemented in a research class, which is a little bit outside of STEM, and it's also in an online environment, that students perform better when they have that opportunity to engage in that community learning and that community level assessment. And so not only do they perform better, but they also reported they also reported having higher self-confidence in their performance and the success in the class, because they were able to think through some of the things together, right? And it might be something as simple as I had a student, she was like really stressed out about formatting one of her resources in the annotated bibliography, and just seeing in real time, like some of the discussions that they were having where, they're catching this little thing that's out of order, or this little thing that's not in the exact correct place. It really helps to reinforce their learning, and they feel more confident because they're able to share the things that they've learned throughout the course with their other students in a way that they're like, okay, well, this is how I understood it, and maybe if you think through it this way, you can understand it too. And so when it contributes to their final grade and they're able to perform well, I saw some really great outcomes with that. So that is what's in the queue.
We waiting on it to drop.
In the queue, I shared a little bit, with you, but it's all coming together, and I'm excited to be able to share more of that and share more, because that's just one iteration of how the test was conducted. But there's so many different ones, and that have various levels of success and different things that we're going to be talking about what worked best and how we can just keep improving that process to implement those 2-stage exams in an online, specifically an asynchronous online course. So yeah.
Man, now look, if that don't stimulate hunger,
Yeah.
for folks
What
to
can
see
we do
innovation,
different? Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody who tapped in today for this higher education segment of our Innovate and Reach podcast. I thank Dr. Alana Stevenson,
Thank you for
a
having
friend,
me.
a scholar, a professional practitioner, faculty. I'm telling you, I want to bring faces in the room that are making innovative differences. One of the things I want to close with, I think is important for us to hear, as you continue to make steps, every step matters. Be intentional where you're planting your foot. Because if I'm going to be a mentor, a coach, or a sponsor, I can't mentor, coach, or sponsor you on steps I never touched. So we don't have to walk in a rush, but we have to be intentional where we're laying our foot. And so as a scholar, as a person, as a young man that is just really trying to make a difference, I've learned that every step matters. And if I skip steps, unfortunately, when I look back, I may have got there quick, but I can't bring anybody else up. And so I want to be sure that we're being intentional where we plant our feet. Today was incredibly important with me because not only did I get to share the stage with somebody who's graduated from the program that I graduated from as well, we get to remind y'all that we're not just national champions on the field, we national champions in this scholarship too. So get with us. You can follow me on Jarrod.speaks on Instagram. On LinkedIn, I'm Jarrod Benjamin. I'm the only one with on there that has this black face from Louisiana. And be in prayer with me, y'all. We want the Saints to win some games this year. I'm going to be at the game next Sunday.
All the prayer warriors.
We need all the prayer warriors to just make something happen in our favor, because if not, y'all, on Sundays, I'm not going to be talking to y'all. Don't call me. Don't email me if the game don't go in my favor. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Stevenson. Shout out to my homie Tom at Chicago Podcast that always holds us down. We are excited to be here, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Y'all take care.